take you to Kwale County and get an update by a proposal by the Kwale Women Rep, Honorable Hassan. And Nikki Gitonga is on standby to give us that update now. She has proposed an amendment to the NHIF Act to make it mandatory for all public servants that want to get medical treatment in public hospital. I mean, they'll have to get it from public hospitals, that is, and they'll not be able to go to private hospitals if they want NHIF to pay for their medical treatment. Let's now get an update in regards to that from Nikki Gitonga. Nikki, good morning. I believe you have the Honorable Hassan there with you. Maybe let's get to understand a little bit more about this bill that has captured the attention of Kenyans.
Oh, thank you, Wahiga. We are at Diani in Kwale County, and as you've just said, I am with Honorable Zulia Hassan, who is the Kwale Women Rep, and she's the brainchild of the bill where all the public servants, it will be a mandatory for them to get treatment from the public hospitals. So I just want to get to tell us, maybe she can tell us more concerning the bill and how it will be helpful to our medical sector or the health sector in Kenya. Maybe Mheshimiwa, you can kindly come and tell us. Just briefly tell us about the bill. What is the bill all about?
Okay, so I want to amend existing acts to add a clause that states that the insurance cover that covers public officers, and public officers, the definition in the Constitution means public officers and state officers. So the medical cover will only cover them in public hospitals. So currently, majority, if not all, public officers in this country have a medical cover because they're employed by a government, different amounts depending on your job group. And all the hospitals that we use are only private hospitals. So we have these insurance companies that, you know, give us a list of hospitals to use, and all the hospitals are only private hospitals. So I'm advocating for us to change that because it's public funds, so that these billions of shillings that go annually that are spent to take care of public officers, now instead of going into private hospitals, is spent on public hospitals. So one of the reasons for this, my main reason was because you know, of feeling for the ordinary mwananchi who's suffering a lot with the terrible public health sector that we have. Our hospital are in tatters. We hear of news every day. So I'm hoping that if this happens, for example, as a leader, an MP, elected leaders and the appointed leaders, if they have to use these hospitals, they'll be able to see what the problems are, so they can kind of oversight more regularly. You know, if I have to use the place, if I go to a hospital and there's no oxygen, for instance, or there's no machine to do a certain test, for instance, I can ask to know why that machine isn't there, and so on and so forth.
So according to you, maybe it will be a solution, maybe to solve the poor services that are being offered to the public hospital? Yes,
because now leaders, because in the situation we are now, right, it's like we're in a sinking ship, and the leaders have jumped out and they're in the lifeboats, and the wananchi are left in the big ship, you know, sinking. So what I'm saying is for leaders to now jump back into the ship. Let's work together and try and fix the leak so that we can all stay afloat. And also with the leaders who've jumped to the lifeboat, there's no guarantee in this big sea that they'll reach land. You know, for example, for us MPs, we have about a 5-year contract. So once the contract is finished after 5 years, you know, we don't have funds anymore. You don't have healthcare anymore. So this is going to be the benefit of all Kenyans. And it's actually not a new idea. It's been there in the 70s and the 80s in the country. They were like private wings within public hospitals for VIP, which is fine, and it worked out well. So you know, the hospitals had medication, you know, there were machines and so on and so forth, and the normal mwananchi benefited from that.
So how are you going to convince your members of parliament and even the Senate to pass the bill? We we all know that most of the MPs and or even the senators are used to these private hospitals because maybe according to them they offer better services. How are you going to convince them to support your bill?
Yeah. But I think more than just MPs, this is for everybody that is earning salary from public funds. So it's about convincing and telling them that it's for our benefit, because you're not always going to be working, and it's only fair because now wananchi suffer. Millions of Kenyans have died. Women have died because they can't access better health care, because in public sector there isn't enough medication, there aren't enough doctors, there aren't enough drugs, you don't have quick like machinery to be able to find out maybe what's wrong with a person, there isn't proper emergency services. So let's be, as leaders, let's be empathetic to the rest of Kenyans who are not covered, and do this. Let's all be together in one boat. So I also want to tell them that, in terms of parliament, about 70% never return. Especially first-time MPs, they never return. And after that, many MPs are usually, or leaders, if their contracts are finished, they're in a bad situation, and there's no one there to take care of you if you have any health concerns.
So maybe what are the set of timelines? When should you expect maybe the bill and all the processes?
In terms of the processes, maybe I'll give it at most maybe around 6 months until it gets to the floor of the House.
So personally, do you visit the public hospital when you become ill, you yourself?
No, I don't, because I'm covered in private hospitals. And because if I go to a public hospital, you don't have that. But if all leaders are in it together as a team, will ensure that there is enough, medical equipment, enough staff, will probably increase. Because right now the budget is 4% that we allocate to health, whereas Kenya signed the Accra agreement and accord, and we said that we signed to like 15% of the budget going to healthcare. So if now we are there, there's more likely that Parliament and all leaders will ensure that there's more funds also that go to the health sector, because it will be in our interest to make sure that the health sector is in good working condition.